Hello, I received this RunCam Racer FPV camera to take a look at recently, and I've only been using it for a few days, but I think I could say that it's already become my favorite FPV camera that I have ever had. And previously my favorite would have been this one, the Micro Sparrow 2, or the Micro Sparrow 2 Pro as well, the slightly larger version of this. And when I say favorite, for me that means just a nice clear picture with decent wide dynamic range and good latency. And it's not surprising that this one would fit the bill for that, because its claim to fame is that it has very low latency, down to 6 milliseconds on the lower end. But I was watching a video recently where somebody was doing a video, I think it was about this one actually, and they did a test and they found that the Micro Sparrow 2 was down to 6 milliseconds in most cases anyway. So that sort of explains to me why these cameras, for me, they're pretty much the same. So why does the Racer slightly get a few better marks? It has a little bit better color balance, or color, what do you call it? This one is a little bit sort of pinky reddy tinge to the color. It's a little bit unnatural looking. I don't mind it. Makes the sunsets look nice. But the Racer has more natural, normal looking colors. So if you were to choose, you know, which one would you prefer long term, I think the normal looking colors that this one produces are a little bit more pleasant to fly with. The other thing that, let's just have a look at the web page for this. The other thing that this one has in its favor, not for me but for other people, is that you can switch between 4:3 and 16:9. So if you have goggles that are 16:9 aspect ratio, Fat Shark HDOs or whatever those other ones are that I don't have, but you can switch it to make a very nice picture on those. Apparently, I have not tried that. And like they say, 6 milliseconds low latency. So just have a look at the connections on the back of this particular one. It's 19mm width, so it'll fit in the same mounts that any of these ones would interchangeably. And you can see those are the pins there. Now this particular one is using the UART connection, so you would need a Betaflight, I think, flight controller to talk to this one to tell it to do settings changes. Now personally I don't really like those, but fortunately there are a couple of things that are going for this one that mean it doesn't really matter. One is that the settings are very good out of the box. I don't think I'd ever bother to change them even if I could. I haven't found any need to. And the other thing is that if you are buying this normally, like most people would be, you can actually choose whether you want to have that sort of UART remote control or just the normal key press board control, or what they call the key press board control, which is the older style thing like this, where you just have a sort of a D-pad like that, and ground and menu connections on the back of the camera, which is really good because for people like me that can't be bothered using a flight controller to do those settings, they can just buy one of those and do it the way they've always been doing it. Unfortunately, that one's going to be black, which is a pity. Pity you can't get an orange one of that, but probably doesn't matter too much. It's been a long time since I had a bad enough crash that my FPV camera went flying out of my mini quad anyway. So that's probably all there is to look at on the cameras here, and since these are so similar, I thought for a side-by-side comparison I would use these two, or I'd use this as the A and the B on the side-by-side comparison. So that's what I did, just a little walk around the yard, and then I put this on my quad, and after about one battery I just really felt at home. It just feels really good to have that low latency. Latency-wise, like I say, I think it's about the same as this. But there was also a little bit less lens flare with the Racer. That's the other thing that they seem to have improved. So in the side-by-side footage, which I'm probably already playing instead of showing you just me handling these at the desk, you'll probably see that the lens flare in the Sparrow is not quite as good as in the Racer. So here's some onboard footage from a reasonably sunny day. The sun was kind of going in and out of the clouds a little bit, as you can see there. And this was only my second battery, I think, with this camera, but as you can see, I'm already pretty well in tune with it. I think this was my most enjoyable mini-quad flight that I've had for a long time. I actually haven't been flying mini-quads that much since I've been at this new house, because I have so much space that I just been flying planes mostly. Plus, there's a lot more annoying fences and hills and gullies and trees and things around to go and search for your mini-quad, whereas if you're looking for a plane when you crash it, it's a lot easier. You can see it from a mile away almost, but mini-quads are so hard to find, so I'm just a bit scared to crash one here because they don't have any return to home or anything on them. Anyway, that's all by the by. So towards the end of this flight, it got a little bit overcast. The sun went behind quite thick clouds, and even so, you can see that the picture's pretty good. It didn't bother me in the slightest. I was still flying and having fun. This guy here, he was a contractor who came out to look at the runway. Apparently the farmer is going to put gravel all the way down this runway instead of grass, which is a little bit strange. Probably quite expensive for him to do that, and I don't see why it's necessary, because the plane seems to be perfectly capable of landing and taking off just on the grass. And here's some footage from around sunset, a little bit more of a relaxed flight this time. Typically this time of day is one of the worst to try and get a good picture in your FPV view, but yeah, it's doing pretty well. I mean, not much to say. I mean, didn't have any trouble with it. Well, I suppose you can judge for yourself. That's all I have to say, really. So that'll be the end of my commentary, and I'll just play a little bit more of this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.